Hello guys, we're loving making these video podcasts for you, but we need your help. Head down to the description, smash that big red button. No, not that one. Hit the big subscribe button, like the video and turn on notifications to keep these videos coming in. Hope you enjoy this week's episode. I love the bricks, the brick-like backgrounds.
Yeah. I know, we have really similar walls at home. Maybe we could pop a wide in of our little 2 metre setup.
Yeah. Just take a little BTS shot afterwards. But yeah, well,
great.
We are here for episode 8.
Episode 8. It's the fateful episode 8.
The final episode.
To complete the series of the Startup Podcast.
I did say last week that we really needed to get like either the worst guests we could find or the best guests that we could find on for episode 8.
And you went for the worst.
So yeah, obviously we're scraping the barrel with you guys.
Yeah.
And
that's brilliant.
Yeah, and to join us today, we have got the amazing Olly Purchase and Zach Lower. Would you like to give a brief little introduction to yourselves?
Wait, no, we got to put a time limit on this because I think it worked. So if you do 30 seconds each, introduce yourself in 30 seconds. So start with...
What about 15 seconds? 10? 5 seconds?
No, 30 seconds. 30 seconds is good.
As Joel said, I'm Olly Purchase.
Yes.
Let's give Ollie 40 seconds and give me 10 seconds.
Okay.
He's a better talker.
Great.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, my name is Olly Purchase. I'm here in front of this brick wall that you've already commented on, which is very similar to the brick wall that Zach is actually in front of. We run a video production company called Even, which is fun, and I'm looking forward to talking to you boys this afternoon. Did I mention my name is Olly? Cheers.
Okay, well, you did a much better job than everyone else has done, so that was good. Okay,
I'm worried if that was a good job.
Okay, Zach, 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, go.
So I'm Zach Lower. I'm the other half of Even, in the office today with Ollie. So we have started coming back to work and kind of obviously working socially distanced.
And then
wanted to clarify that before anyone calls us out.
That was just about 10 seconds, so that's good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
That's amazing. So we've got to know you a little bit, obviously just a little snippet, but we've come up with like a series of icebreaker games just to like break the ice, get to know you a little bit more. And so we're slowly going through them, and we've come up with one which I think is really funny. Joel isn't so keen, but basically...
That nervous laugh, Joel, that nervous laugh.
We'll see.
Basically,
we'll see how it goes.
We all know the internet is an amazing place, and there are some really, really funny product reviews out there. So I have trawled the depths of the internet to find the funniest product reviews, and you've got to guess what the review is, what the product that the review is for.
Okay, I'm in. Cool. That sounds great.
So I guess, are we going to score this? Do you think we should score this? Like,
why don't you score it out of 5 like you would a review?
Is it head to head?
Okay, well, there's only 4. So
okay,
yeah, head to head between Zach and Ollie. Whoever gets the most wins. Like I don't know, one of the products.
And is it like finger on the buzzer when we think we know, or do we take turns?
Yeah,
answering?
Let's make a buzzer noise. So
right.
Zach, what's your buzzer noise?
That bit.
Okay, and Ollie. Okay, great, awesome. Well,
that takes time though. I'm going to lose valuable time because I have to breathe in.
Okay. Here we go. Question 1. Okay, breathe in. Get ready. I'd really like to buy a pack of these, but I'd probably need my father's or husband's permission first. Is it A, Bic pens for her, or B, a stuffed blobfish plush toy?
Oh
what even is the second one?
I didn't hear a buzzer.
I think...
I reckon the pens. The other one sounds too far-fetched.
Do we get an answer from both of them before I reveal it, or...?
Yeah,
Ollie, what are
I
you
think
thinking?
Just to be different, the other one, but I can't remember what it's called.
Well,
but it felt so far-fetched, like Zach said, that it feels as if it's made up, but I could be wrong.
Well, it is actually Bic pens for her. Bic, make a line of pens for women.
Wowzers.
Nice.
Here we go, number 2. Fingers on...
Can you quickly clarify what is different about the women's pen?
I don't know. I think they're just slightly different colours. I think that's all it is. Which is just so outrageous in 2020. Okay, here we go. Number 2. Fingers on buzzers. I was tired of getting hit on by beautiful women every time I went out in public, and then I bought this. Problem solved. Is it A, a frog eye mask, or B, a Luke Skywalker ceremonial jacket?
Oh, could easily be either.
I think it's got to be the Luke Skywalker ceremonial jacket.
Okay. Zach, what's your answer?
I did think it was the eye mask.
Oh, okay. Well,
Maybe
it was the Luke Skywalker ceremonial jacket.
Nice.
Okay.
1-0.
Is that
So
1-0?
1-0.
Here we go.
Also, that poor guy or poor
Yeah, I know.
woman.
I know. He's so
Life's tough.
chuffed with himself, though. He's like,
Yeah.
I was attractive and now I'm not. So,
Yeah.
okay, here we go. Number 3.
Just be a Star Wars fan.
Fingers on buzzers. Easy to fit. Slightly bigger than expected, but I got used to it. Is it A, a phone case, or B, an inflatable elephant?
Give the description one more time of what they said.
Easy to fit. Slightly bigger than expected, but I got used to it.
I would love it to be an elephant.
Yeah, I reckon it's the phone case.
It is indeed the phone case. It's a phone
How-
case
Yeah. Nice.
from...
How would it be the elephant?
I don't know.
Because
It's
it's
easy
just
to fit.
bigger than they thought, easy to fit on them.
Yeah,
An
it's
inflatable elephant that they
An
wear.
inflatable elephant. There are actually inflatable
Yeah.
elephants. Okay, here we go. Number 4, final question. What are we on at the moment? Have you both got that one right, didn't you?
Yeah, we both agreed on that one, really.
Yeah, I think I said I'd love it to be the elephant, but I never clarified the phone case, so we'll give it 2-1 to Zach.
Okay, here we go. Who wouldn't want this? I bought one for all my loved ones for Christmas. They were at a loss for words. So much so, in fact, I haven't heard from any of them since Christmas. Totally worth the money. Is it A, a Nicolas Cage pillowcase, or B, Bright City's new album Change?
Okay.
That would be so savage if it was Brett City. I reckon beep the pillowcase.
I think it would be the pillowcase only because of the timing of the release of the
Oh,
album. Wouldn't
that
be
was
a Christmas
sensible.
present, would it?
Of course it's the pillowcase.
Maybe next Christmas.
Maybe next Christmas.
Yeah.
I wish I had
Yeah, yeah.
more. I find them really funny. These are genuinely
They're great.
reviews on the internet. Who won that one? No, you both got the same answer for that one. Oh no, Zach
Yeah,
won.
we both got that answer.
Zach was 3-1 then.
Oh, I did win though.
Zach won.
Yeah, I got
So
3.
Zach, you've won
Yeah.
yourself
Oh, yeah, 3-1.
a Nicolas
3-1.
Cage pillowcase. And we will send you a Nicolas Cage pillowcase.
Nice. Also, I was talking about this last night. Do you know when you go on a product and you can tell the reviews are blatantly kind of made up by
Yeah.
someone that sits there writing out
Yeah.
50 reviews?
Yeah.
Flipping love those. But what is it about them that's just so obvious?
Yeah. It's
You know, they're kind of like, this is the best product
and then you
ever.
scroll all the way to the bottom and just in the tiniest text it's like, oh, by the way, I was sent a free one. Like,
Yeah.
oh, brilliant. Well, we've learnt a bit
Great
about
game.
your mindsets from that. So that was the aim of the game.
As much as I
did.
was skeptical about that before recording, but I actually really enjoyed that.
You're
That was
skeptical
great.
about every idea I have for the podcast, so it's
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. I think you could build on that, definitely. There's
Yeah.
some fun innuendos in those reviews.
fine. Maybe we'll have volume 2 that'll be a little bit less PG. It was incredibly
Sounds-
difficult to find PG ones, I will be honest.
Well, should we have a little chat?
Let's have a little chat.
Let's go. Ready?
Let's start off with Even, as you've mentioned earlier. You obviously both run the production company together. Like, what sort of stuff do you do, and like what's kind of like the main focus, or at least like what you want to be doing at least?
Do you want to take it or do you want me to take it?
No, you've got the elevator pitch lined up.
The elevator pitch. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, I think, like with all these things, it's just our main thing would be like short form branded content. So it'd be kind of like we would try and do nothing over a minute because we're trying to keep things interesting. It would always be like a company would come to us or a brand would come to us with a new product, a new campaign they're running, and then our kind of most enjoyable part would probably be taking it from as early back in that creative process as possible. So our funnest thing is when they come to us and they say like, we've got this thing, help us from the very beginning. And then the other end of that would be like, we've got this exact pinpointed time-coded idea. Can you help us deliver it?
Yeah. Have you had any like jobs in? Obviously, it's been lockdown and stuff, but have you had any like exciting bits and pieces over the last like year or so that has like really stood out to you? Or
I think there's been loads of bits. Anything that you wanted to? I think we did a New York job just before
oh yeah,
lockdown
yeah,
happened.
I saw that.
Literally a couple of days before lockdown, yeah.
Oh wow.
which was really fun, which was with a company called Mont Blanc.
Okay.
That are just kind of like high-end pens and watches and stuff. That
Yeah.
are very
Do they make a line
Like a
of
luxury
pens for
lifestyle
women?
product brand.
Yeah. Not the bit
Yeah.
for women.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should read the reviews. The reviews are great. Which was really fun. I think sometimes we quite enjoy the kind of quick turnaround of things. I think if we sit on something for too long, it sometimes gets a little, as with anything in life, some people quite like digging in. Like, I couldn't imagine what it's like to do a movie when you're on it for kind of 4 or 5 years. But I think there's definitely a thing that we quite like, the high turnaround, the quick in and out, the kind of we'd meet someone, we'd decide on what direction we're going to go with it, and then within a few weeks we're filming it, and then within a few weeks after that we've edited it and it's live. I think that's definitely a sweet spot that we like kind of living within.
So you brand yourselves as the small screen specialists as part of Even. Where did that idea come from? Because it's so catchy, you know.
The man over here, Zach,
Oh,
that was your
the ideas, man.
catchphrase.
Yeah, I don't really know fully where it came from, but it was just, I don't know, a bit of a eureka moment. We were like, oh, this is literally what we do, and it communicates that we create stuff. Like, I feel like a lot of companies, when they do like kind of campaigns, they do like an ad for TV, and then it's like an afterthought of how they'll squeeze it onto a phone on Instagram. So we kind of approach it the reverse, and we shoot everything that it can be, you know, keep up with all the kind of high production and high resolution adverts you see, but it kind of starts on a smaller platform and then can like kind of expand upwards. So we focus more on formats for Instagram, stories, Facebook, Twitter, and then also like YouTube as well. So it kind of has all kinds of shapes and fits within any kind of small screen, from a tablet to a laptop to a desktop to a TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great that you've kind of taken that on, because even just that little like name there of like the small screen specialist will appeal to so many companies and stuff. Like surely when people see that, they're like, oh, like these are the guys that I want for this little whatever 30 seconds to a minute piece.
Yeah, I think
100%.
it's always trying to capture yourself and explain what you do. I don't think we're always maybe not the best or even kind of very good at self-promotion. I think sometimes we like the idea of letting the work do the talking.
Yeah.
So we kind of, people always, the amount of times that even 2 or 3 years deep, people that are quite close to us are like, oh, tell me what you do. Or like, what do you guys do? So it's always that constant idea of like trying to find something to sum up what we do. And also, it's like an ever-evolving, ever-changing market. Like, I think even when we started, the word TikTok didn't even leave anyone's mouth, and now we're in a, like, feels like only in the last 6 months it's just like blown up, where the content has become like more user-generated, like always shot on iPhone. The quality of it doesn't have to be incredible. It's more about the content
It's definitely
that's being captured.
It's definitely where most businesses are pushing, at least now, I guess. So that obviously works out so well for you, in order for businesses to be like, oh, you know, we really want to, we're great with all these big adverts for like, you know, cinemas and stuff like that, but like we really want to push into the smaller, the market on the phone, just scrolling through. And even Instagram just recently, you know, bringing out all of these adverts in stories and adverts and stuff like that. I mean, it probably wasn't that recent, but it feels recent. And, you know, and Snapchat and all these apps.
Yeah, relatively.
Yeah, that you can imagine sort of how you advertise things and how you put, you know, smaller content out differently. And, you know, I don't think I've ever, like before last year, I don't think I was ever making videos that were 9:16 instead of 16:9. But now it seems like that's every other video that you're making is
it was like so taboo. I remember filmmakers would kind of always make fun of people filming stuff this way, and now I'll literally take out my camera and shoot a whole day in portrait. If we know it's needed for portrait. So it is it's changed a lot, and we used to mock it for sure.
Yeah, for sure. How do you, obviously working with like within a company and traveling all over the place, how do you find like the balance between like home life and family life to work? So like you say you're out in like New York and all of these places, like how do you like manage to balance that thing? Are there projects that you kind of take other people like from the family on, or is it just like a case of you're just all over the place and have to?
Yeah, I would think it's definitely something that I'll always be thinking of and always be aware of. And I feel like potentially because I think we travel quite a lot, but I wouldn't say we're kind of traveling as much as like if you were talking to us and we were in a band and we were away for like months at a time.
Yeah.
I think that we definitely, before we like lockdown started, we were traveling quite a lot, but it would kind of be a 1 day trip, a 2 day trip, a 4 day trip. And we're probably only away for like 7 or 8 days in like 3 or 4 months, but it feels like more because you're shouting about it and we're probably putting up the content a week after we've come back, so it feels as if we're still away. So in answer to your question, I think that there's definitely a cap. If it started to feel like too much, we would definitely have a conversation and start to see if there was different people we could maybe send on projects, or projects that we just say we can't do.
Yeah.
I know that lots of people potentially in bands would have had a limit. So they would say like, oh, actually, we'll make sure that in every 2 month cycle, we'd only be away for 10 days or things like that. But I don't think we're at that kind of level yet where that had become an issue that we started to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. I obviously, as I was growing up, I kind of followed both of you in different aspects, whether that was like Zach with your like Instagram stuff. I remember like sitting and like waiting to see your daily snippets.
I thought you
every
meant
day
following like physically then, so I got a bit confused.
just following around Seaford. But yeah, so like there's that, and then obviously with Ollie, you obviously were in a little duo called Tom and Ollie, which my dad was actually a part of one of the tracks, so I got to come and see you.
Came in, shout out to Graham doing some trumpet.
Yeah,
that was one of my
GT.
favourite moments ever.
It's so funny because I remember I was at Greenbelt Festival like years ago, and you guys were playing there, and I managed to dig out, because I'm back at my parents' house at the moment. I managed to dig out because I bought your CD, and so I still got it. So there's a lovely photo of you in there, like that. Just
there I am, looking moody.
looking moody, a nice little overexposed, beautiful.
Yeah.
I never
definitely
actually
us kind of
listened to
photo.
this, so if you want it back, you can have it back.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Hope you got it for free as well.
No, I think
Want it
I paid
inconvenience you.
full price for that, so
Oh wow.
a whole
Blaming
10 quid
it.
or whatever it was. But
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, like I know that sort of side of things. But what sort of stuff did you get into before, or you decided to make the jump to Even? Like, obviously, I've mentioned about like the music stuff and the Instagram stuff. But was there anything that kind of bridged the gap between those things, or was that kind of what was going on?
Great question. I think with all these things, they're kind of slightly organic, and I think sometimes you join up the dots when you look backwards. So I did Tom and Ollie, as you said, holding up that CD that at least bought us a packet of crisps now and then. And then after that, talking about family stuff, I got married, and then doing music there was nothing. You spent a lot of time away from home, or a lot of time not making much money and trying to make it work. So we kind of had conversations about that, what that would look like. And then we finished doing music. And then I worked for a festival called the Big Church Day Out, which I know you guys know a lot about. And then when that was I'd been there 4 or 5 years and kind of looked after the creative side of it. I think that as it evolved, as the technology evolved, and there were guys with DSLRs, and the whole kind of thing had gone from a 2-minute promo to like, how do we capture as much content, and working with all the creative teams.
Yeah.
And then as that was I'd been, like I said, 4 or 5 years, and started to work out what do I want to do next. And then Zach, I don't know if you know, is my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
So married to his sister. And then you could explain what you're up to, but I just then we had a few conversations and tried to work out if there's any kind of synergy between what he was doing and what I was doing, and if there was any kind of like partnership we could form to bring each other's kind of skill sets to the table. And with all of those things, there's always kind of teething problems, like working out what you're bringing and does it really work, and there's always like push and shove in terms of like what others are sacrificing to make that happen. So that was something that we kind of worked through and talked through. But did you want to talk about picking up camera and doing your thing?
Yeah, so like Ollie said, we're brother-in-laws, so we've been on been together a lot. And I remember I'd be like, when we went to Italy on a family holiday, maybe in 2015, 16, I was quite new to this little project I'd set myself, where I was making a video a day on Instagram, back when they were 15 seconds. So I was making kind of little 15-second videos. And yeah, Ollie was kind of always there, and always, I I don't know, even if it was just driving us to locations so I could shoot at new places that I wanted to visit while we were in Italy and stuff like that, or we all wanted to visit as a family. I think we were just always like around each other and doing quite complementative projects that then, just kind of narrowed together over time. And then we became even as a result of that.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
So how long have you been together as even?
Since 2017.
Okay, cool.
So I think there was like a bit of time when I went
There was
down
like a both freelancing kind of thing. We were freelancing together, but it wasn't a company.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then 3 years, solid company.
So when that all started off, was there like obviously you both would have had like contacts and stuff from before, but was there like a specific kind of strategy that you were using to kind of get new clients for like this new like up and coming business, or were you kind of feeding off of stuff that you'd done before, or what was the process with that?
I wish we were smart enough to have strategy, especially at that point. I think it was just like opportunities would come at the right time, and I think we put in the hard work to get those opportunities, but we also don't really know where they came from, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like now, like moving forward, we're figuring out effective ways to kind of get new work, but then it was a lot of the case of just taking on whatever projects came our way, including the dull ones that no one likes to shout about.
Yeah.
There's lots of projects that production companies, especially young production companies, have to do kind of behind closed doors. they don't really put in the show reel, but also you learn a lot from.
Yeah, great.
Have you sort of, because obviously, as you said, like so much of your life in the past however many years has been sort of pushing to get more work, pushing to, to grow in a sense in like your ability and stuff like that. Have you sort of picked up any like tips? I know it's such a cringy question, but like, have you got any tips for like people who want to get more work and want to get started and want to, almost end up doing what you're doing? Obviously not exactly because competition, but like,
oh no, there's plenty of space for everyone.
But do you have any sort of like quick, like, this is what I did that worked?
I think it's such an interesting balance and something that we're still learning, because there's a balance between doing lots of work and kind of getting jobs in, but then making sure you're constantly cultivating your own personal creativity. And I think that's something that me and Zach even to today are still learning in terms of like, I'm really bad at always, a job's come in and I'll always want to kind of take it as like a pure survival mechanism. But then if you just do that, then you're not really progressing what you can potentially put out in terms of the so if you were just to do the same thing over and over again, then you're going to get to a point where you've potentially made money, but then you've got to a point where you creatively have potentially burnt out,
right? Yeah.
And also creatively potentially like haven't developed yourself, that then someone else comes along with a slightly new style or a slightly new idea, and then you've burnt your bridges because you've been so focused on doing a specific thing. So I think, like, in answer to your question, I think hard work always wins at the end of the day. I think you have to then be willing to dig in, take on projects, learn new things. And also another thing that we found is just like be fun and be enjoyable to work with. I think that we'll always try and make sure that a project that we work on is like fun. We'll always try and go above and beyond where necessary to make the client feel as if they've enjoyed the experience, so that next time they're like, because there's nothing where if the product's good but you were an absolute idiot and you made their life a nightmare, at the end of the day they're going to come back and be like, I loved that, but I really can't be bothered to work with you again. So it's striking that balance of like being fun to work with but delivering a good product at a fair price and not underselling yourself as well. So I think there's so many, I think they're all kind of like cliche things that you probably find in the 101 book.
I guess part of that also comes from like not getting stressed over the little things. No, I'm the worst at like whenever I'm on a shoot, I'm like, we got to get this done, or whatever. But I guess just relaxing a bit more, it puts, as you say, like puts the client at ease a little bit, and then makes you a little bit more enjoyable to work with. But I don't know.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think Zach's the king of that again, where we'll go there and I'll be like, we got it, and he'll be like, oh no, we've definitely got it. But then I'll learning to trust that he's like, we've got that shot and it's in the bag and we can move on, rather than reshooting the same thing 15 times. which is definitely something a bit more like you, Angus, where I'm like, "Wah," and I'll be worse, and then Zach will be like, no, it's cool, we got it, let's go home, I feel good. So I think like learning, again, that comes down to Zach spending hours just enjoying what he does, so that when you do have it. So for example, when we were in New York, we were over there, and it was like a headphones launch, one of their new products, and there was like 4 or 5 influencers around the city who we would go and film. But sometimes you'd literally have, and we were creating like 30-second little kind of 916 Instagram pieces for them, but they would turn up and they'd have their whole entourage with them, and you would literally get them for maybe like 10-15 minutes max, and in that time you have to make sure you've caught everything you need and you've captured everything, which comes down to just practice, which comes down to like knowing your equipment, having confidence in what you're shooting. It's a skill set, isn't it?
Yeah,
so like with
100%.
everything, if you want to be good at football, you like practice every day, and if you want to be good at art, you practice, and if you want to be good at filmmaking, you practice all the time.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing that I think is kind of overlooked a little bit, like especially when it comes to like gear and stuff. I think so many people kind of focus on like, oh, like I need this piece of gear to do this, and I need this and this, and then the people that are actually like really doing some like great stuff don't necessarily always have the best stuff. They just know the knowledge of how to run those shoots, how to use that gear to the best of their ability.
I guess we're still learning it a bit when doing these podcasts. Is like the first couple podcasts we had to like re-record because my laptop crashed and you know, stuff like that, or like Joel's Wi-Fi cut out and stuff. You know, so
I had my mic back.
You had your mic the wrong way around once, yeah. And so I guess we're still kind of learning that about like, you know, because we've got a set amount of time to record with somebody and we can't mess it up. So it's like,
can you please send me a photo of your mic backwards? That's golden.
It was. That's why I bought this one, just because I was like, it can only come one way.
So you talked a bit about sort of different shoots, like for instance being in New York, doing all the stuff around the place. What's been your sort of like favourite shoot in the past, like, well, since you started Even, really, so the past like 3 years, sort of what's been your favourite shoot that you've done? I know it's really, really hard to pick favourites sometimes.
Oh no, it's a great question. Do we maybe to do one each because they might be different?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I think as like a cumulative project, seeing it from like start to finish, we worked with a company called Caterham Cars that are. Would you say they're kit cars? I'm not very.
Yeah, it's also both our favourite project.
Okay, cool. That's good. I think I'll say because for me, why it was our favourite project is it was one of those things where we saw, going back to the beginning of this conversation, we saw it from start to finish. So like we met up with them at the very beginning, and they've got like 6 different models of cars, and they wanted to create kind of specific video content for each car. So we kind of worked on the audience, we worked on the storylines, we worked on like the locations that they would tie in with, and then it was just a really fun project to get stuck into and then see it through to completion, really, just to see that kind of you feel like you've achieved something. I think with some of the work that you do, you kind of go in, you do it, and you leave, and you didn't really have much say over what it was going to be. You become a bit of a like filming monkey where you're just filming what someone tells you to film. Whereas this one, it felt like we really had like a lot of creative control and a lot of say over the final output. So it was really fun.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, just to add to that, I guess, I think my favorite thing about it was that was the one where we definitely learnt the most during the project. And like, even like we learnt kind of how we best work together and kind of really utilized our talents to kind of take on a big project and be able to kind of split it in half almost and manage it in quite an efficient way. There's definitely, once you double your team from a single person, from like a one-man band to like a two-man band, your kind of scope and productivity like massively increases, more than double. So like teamwork was really important on that shoot. And yeah, we just learned a lot about what works, what doesn't work, what personally, if I was going to reshoot that, it gave me tons of ideas of how I'd want to approach it differently, or even technicalities of how I'd want to shoot it would be different, which I like because it keeps me excited. If we were fully satisfied, it might not have been as good a project.
For sure. And I guess that it kind of helps. You grew up in and around cars and stuff.
So that's another personal thing where literally memories of my dad used to own one of these cars and would take me to events in it, let me drive it occasionally, like sat on his lap. So it was a bit of like a childhood dream.
Yeah.
Did you find that
Kind
was
of,
almost...
the goal is to own one day, so it was like a little stepping stone where I got to learn a lot about them.
Did you find that was almost
drive
like a driving point to like do your best kind of thing, or like do a good job?
I think so, yeah. It was definitely like a mix of passion and work, where I was like very passionate about these cars, and I wanted to make. Well, I'm very passionate about automotive, kind of like cars and motorsport. Like old cars, new cars, kind of fascinate me. So I'm always a little bit more plugged in if it's to do with cars.
I think with that one as well, going back to like digging in, we got given one of their cars early on for like a test shoot, and we spent a whole weekend shooting it. So we kind of went out and shot it during the day. Then even at night time, we were working out how to get the kind of nice blacked out light passing over parts of the car thing. And we were outside someone's house at like, I don't know, like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, shooting it for like a few hours. But getting it was exciting.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like we had to be doing it.
We weren't on the clock, and it wasn't like, oh, we've like got this much time to spend pre-producing. We're just like having fun and experimenting.
Yeah, genuinely felt like it was like we were creating something. We weren't trying to do it because we had to. We did it because we wanted to.
Do you, on the whole, like prefer like going out and doing a project and a shoot, or do you prefer like sort of just sitting down and going, right, what idea can I come up with today? Because obviously, like you like especially Zach, like, you know, Instagram, like you're putting stuff out all the time, just random. I watch it and I'm like, how the hell did you think of that? Like, what part of your mind went, oh, do you know what'd be cool? That'd be great, like whatever. So like, what do you prefer, like going out and doing a shoot and almost getting a brief, but also being given a bit of creative freedom, or having entire creative freedom and just going, I'm just going to go make something, like.
Creative freedom is number one for sure. And I think a lot of on the like, so Instagram is kind of a separate thing where it's almost just a testing ground of my little ideas before they'd be brought into even or into a project.
Right.
So that kind of, a lot of the time I stumble upon ideas rather than actually like think them up. So I guess the freedom of kind of taking on a project and going out and just experimenting with it is a way that I like to work for sure. Having too strict a brief, you tend to like feel like you're just a service, and you go in and you're like, here's this shot, this shot, this shot, tick, done, and then like move on. So it's not really as you're not as passionate about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Obviously it does fluctuate depending on the project.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And obviously we've spoken about this before, but I remember like way back, it's probably like 2-3 years now, when you were doing your like my daily snippet thing, and I just remember like how like it just gave me a bit more of an encouragement to go out and just shoot and just like try and learn how to do little bits and pieces away from like, whether like at the time I was doing like college projects and stuff, so it was very like to the point, but it just gave me a little bit more of like I can just go out and put these ideas together and then use them into a bigger thing. But like, I think when I watched those, like, I can't remember how many you did, but you got through like the whole year at least. I don't know how many you went on afterwards, but I just, every day when I watched them, I was like, how have you managed to like stay motivated and still keep creative like every single day, like getting a new piece of content out? What was your kind of thought process behind that?
Yeah, there was kind of a couple of motivations behind it. One of them was that I was just like, oh, I want to shoot what I want to shoot, and I don't want to be waiting for like permission to go shoot it or a brief that suits it. And I think especially back then, now it's like very common, I feel, for creators to be doing passion projects, and it almost is like, for a lot of creators, it's like the number one is like, I want to be self-creating these projects and then kind of putting them out. But back then it did feel a little bit like if you didn't have a reason to shoot, you wouldn't necessarily go out shooting. Like you said, you'd have college projects and you're like delivering this work at college that's kind of to fit a criteria to an extent. But I just wanted to go out and be fully creative. And a bit of it was that like kind of frustration, I guess. The motivation was the frustration of not being able to make it if I wasn't making it for no reason, if that makes sense. Yeah. So then that became the reason. I was like, I just want to make all these things. And also it did encourage me just to go outside and do a lot more. Like it's kind of shaped my lifestyle and the friends that I am surrounded by. Yeah, we've kind of all grown to just love adventure, outdoors, like spending as much time by the countryside or like out by the, like in the sea.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of swimming, and it encourages an active lifestyle, which I also love.
And I think something we talked about was almost around the idea of perfection. And you almost kind of get caught up in things needing to be perfect, or
Yeah.
but then there's when you're putting stuff out daily, like you talked about, you have to do it. It has to go out. You do it. So you kind of just experiment. And you're not afraid to try something. Whereas if you sit on something for 3 or 4 months, you're going to hate what you shot 3 months ago, and B, you're not going to put it out because it's such a big emotional thing that you're like, oh, I wonder what everyone thinks about this. Whereas when you were doing stuff daily, you remember you telling me that you can just keep going. Say you do something and you're like, oh, I kind of don't know if that works, but I want to put it out. It's really
It was
good.
quite throwaway in that sense, but in a nice way, where you were just like you said, you didn't hold it too close, and you're like, well, this is all the time I had, so here it is. And the interesting thing with that is, it will spark an idea for a future idea that you do like, or it will be someone else's favorite idea that you've ever done. The amount of crap videos I personally thought were like below par that I put out, and like even one person comments or messages and they're like, this is my favorite video. And you're like, how the heck?
I think that was my biggest thing when I used to like do like little Instagram videos. I've kind of tailed off from that now, but like I remember I'd like get the footage back and be like, oh, like this is like the worst thing I've ever done, blah blah whatever. And I'd put it together and I was like, okay, like this could be passable. And then like all the comments and stuff and like the messages and stuff, I'd just be like, they'd be like, oh, like this is amazing, like I really like this, I really like the way you did this and this. And I was like, oh wow, like it's such a big thing in ways of like you're always going to be such like a perfectionist and always want like the best or what you think is the best, but to somebody else that could be like the best piece of content that they see in that space and time. But because you've seen other people doing other bits and pieces, it's like a big comparison. And I think that's what I really liked about like the daily snippet stuff was obviously you were doing every day, so you couldn't necessarily be like I didn't really like that, I won't put it out today. Like there was always something, and there was that drive to be like, oh, like I need to keep this going, I'm just gonna put it out. And then you kind of grow from those mistakes, if anything.
100%. There's like no safety net.
Yeah, exactly.
What you shoot, because you're like, there's no backlog. I literally would shoot in the day and edit it and put it out that night, which I think is definitely, if I look back now, that's obviously trained me so much. Like Ollie said, with these New York projects where you have no safety net and you have like 15 minutes with a celebrity who also is a very busy person, might not be like that up for you getting in their face, and just you need to know that you can get the shots without being a nuisance in some cases. And I kind of learned that, I guess, from the like years of making daily little videos that somehow sculpted towards that kind of skill set.
How much do you think that the content that you produce for Instagram like impacts the work that you get in?
I think
it's quite a big amount. I think it's always, that's what we talked about with our strategy and how we've done stuff where we've been a little bit more, things have come to us and then we've taken them on, as opposed to be too outreachy and approaching people for work. But I would say that quite a lot of people DM Zach and then would be looped into an email, then we'd pick up the conversation and then see what we can do with them, which I think is quite a common way of coming in.
I think it's great for someone to kind of immediately establish trust in what you do, as well as like seeing Evan's work, and we've got a show reel. If they lots of people just want to see the easiest place to kind of scroll, and if they do scroll and see a consistent level of work, it gives them that trust from the start, which is helpful.
Which again goes back to that thing that I was saying about not getting bogged down in the same thing. So actually going out and taking time to self-create and come up with new concepts and new ideas is actually invaluable. And that's something that I've definitely learned over the last few years, where you're like, oh no, we need to be doing something. But actually being out and being free means that people see that. And then they like what you've done and they want it. Yeah,
I guess that kind of just like playing around with different ideas and stuff, it will give you like an idea of how you can shape stuff. But I think what I've noticed recently is that, especially with some of the stuff that you're doing, Zach, on Instagram, I've almost seen like a bit of a shift in other people's content that's come off of the back of what you've been doing, like especially a lot of like the masking stuff and whatnot. I've seen a lot of people, and especially like some of the younger guys, they've really like, I see so many people that are like loving your stuff, and then they will like feed like little bits and ideas, and obviously people have done stuff like this before, but I feel like in recent months at least, you've kind of like amplified a few different like techniques and almost like implemented like a new style that has then kind of moved on to some of like potentially some of like the younger like up and coming guys. And so like is that something that you've kind of noticed or picked up on, or is it just like a this is what happens kind of thing?
Yeah, I've definitely noticed. I get obviously tagged, and they'll say inspired by, or just DM me and be like, oh, I'd love if you would watch this. I've seen your version of it and I tried it or something. And that's, just really, really cool. I obviously can't take ownership over that. That style of doing it. Like you said, it's a style that's been around for a long time, and then maybe, a technique that's been around that I've just decided to use again. I haven't reinvented it.
Oh, yeah.
It's just...
I think that's what I've really noticed recently, and obviously some of these little videos that you've been doing have obviously been picked up by some bigger like companies and stuff. I saw the other day that there was like the basketball one that you did some bits with Adobe.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Did they just?
So that's I don't know if kind of fully out the blue. And I think that's the kind of fun thing. You never really know where tomorrow's opportunity will come from. But that was just an email that actually at first, because I sent to Olly and I was like, this feels like an automated email. I don't know what Adobe's trying to ask. And then it turned out that, they wanted to like do a little Q&A vibe tutorial thing about, actually I got to choose the video that it was about. So it wasn't that they'd seen that video specifically, but they were just aware of like our work, which was cool. It's crazy to see how much it's kind of progressed from like the daily snippet stuff to like now you're working with like the companies that literally make the stuff that we create these pieces of content that we've
with,
been using for years.
And it's like it's crazy to see, especially like when I used to watch it, like 14-15-year-old me sitting there just being like, oh, like one day I want to do this and I want to be like making stuff like this. And I think it's so encouraging to see, especially for like younger people now, or people that are pushing in, that can see like you've taken this like little idea of like the Instagram stuff, and now you're really pushing it into like day-to-day work and really pushing your name out there.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah. And I think it is, if it's kind of encourages others to pursue whatever their kind of goals are as well, then that's really cool. But definitely just making a routine out of your passion is like number one way of kind of how to grow in that area. So I always encourage, whenever I'm talking to friends, whether they're like musicians or like Olly said, like artists, like they'll just encourage them to go out and make stuff. If they can't do daily, then like as often as possible. But the more you do it, the better you get. And the more people know you do it. A lot of the opportunities haven't come from like fully out the blue companies, but people that we know that we kind of didn't know that they knew a person that might know another person, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so it's not like we're not reaching like these big CEOs of companies suddenly, but there's people around you that you don't realize have those contacts. And if you're in their mind because they're seeing the work you're doing, it kind of opens opportunity.
Yeah. I saw recently there was a thing that, it was like an article or something where somebody had done like some form of study where you were like, I think you're only like 3 or 4 contacts away from like anybody in the world or something at this point with like social media and stuff. So like just knowing like 1 or 2 people can then just spur you on to do anything you want. So it's just about making those like the contacts, having the work to back you up, and like the world is your oyster at that point, I guess.
Definitely.
And I think, coming down to doing a good job on a project that you might think no one sees, rather than being like, oh, I don't really want to do this, or it's not for me, but you still do it, you don't do a good job.
Putting effort into even the stuff that maybe you're not getting paid for or whatever, putting the same amount of effort into that as the ones that you are.
100%. If you take it on, then you need to do a good job.
Yeah,
100%.
And if you think you can't do a good job of it, with no budget, then you have to kind of figure that out.
Yeah.
What can we? We've sort of talked about your journey so far, I guess, but like one of these questions that we just sort of ask everybody is, where can we see you in like 5 years, or where do you see yourselves in 5 years? What is the next step for Olly Purchase and Zach Lower? What's happening in 5 years' time?
I think this is something that we constantly ask ourselves, almost probably too much. I think it's a conversation that I'll always have with everyone because I think it's fascinating. But for us, I think when we talk about it, I'm going to take these off because I keep getting delay in my ears.
What do you mean? You're in different houses?
We just want to create good content. I think that's what it is. I think we enjoy... I'm trying to think. I've got a delay, so it's throwing me off.
No, it's cool. There's also bin men outside throwing glass bottles at walls, it sounds like.
So it's super noisy.
I wasn't going to ask. I was like, is somebody like doing something downstairs?
Yeah, I think what do we want to do? I think we talk through it a lot. I think we want to be involved in the creative end of whatever we're doing. So I don't think we want to get bogged down. We talk about it a lot, whether we want to expand our team and have more people, or do we want to keep ourselves narrow and keep ourselves quite nimble? And I think in the last few months has told us that actually staying quite a small team is probably quite helpful. We want to be involved from the very beginning of a creative process, like we said with the catering job, where someone might come to us and we can just dive in from the beginning. And I think we want to create content that's, I don't know, inspiring, fun for us to create. I don't think we potentially want to get bogged down in such a style that then you end up getting bored of what you're doing. So I think we want to keep pushing ourselves. I've gone all around the houses here, but Zach, dive in and save me because I'm going to keep talking.
No, I think that's the hard thing though. When you're kind of hobby, passion, then you try and build into a business, there's always that emotional thing where you're like, oh, but I really want to love doing it. So you really want to love what you do. And sometimes that's a bit of a holdback, or a bit of like a burden on yourself for no reason, where you're like, oh, I don't want to slog through this project and not enjoy it. I want to be able to enjoy it. And I think we just want to, moving forward, just, be kind of working on stuff that we're equally as passionate about so we can do the best job possible.
Yeah, and I think I was, again, over the years, try and bring in loads of work, and then suddenly over a 9 to 5 day, you've dived into 4 or 5 different projects, which in some ways is really bad at getting a nice flow and feel on. So something that we're working on is being more just like focused on one specific project and seeing it through, rather than having to jump in and out and try and make it all work.
That's I think that's really cool to hear, kind of like your thoughts and stuff on how you want to adapt your current style into that. But I think that kind of wraps us up for today. For the visual element, we're starting a new little thing.
Whoa.
Where we're now going over to just audio only. We're gonna have another little game, and then we're just gonna have a little chat.
That'll all continue on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all the other places.
So if you're watching the YouTube video,
just head over.
Click the link in the description. Go over to Spotify and check out. But thank you so much, guys, for hopping on today. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for chatting.
Awesome.
Brilliant. Well,
great.
Hop over to
Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
See you in a minute.
We've both
Now we're
actually
on to
taken our clothes off. So what I did is I just shaved half of it and made myself look incredibly ugly, so that then she had to finish it off. Quickly, you spend a lot of your face is on Instagram quite a lot. So to say no one's going to see me. There's two photos we need from you now, Joel. It's a backwards microphone and you with your straight Jennifer Aniston hair.